Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is third time's the charm here. I've tried to start recording this twice, and it crashed both times. So that's great start to the day already. A mild scent, sweet and slightly herbal, is the first thing you notice upon entering the old shop. Its quarters are cramped, made smaller by the display cases and furniture packed inside. The walls are lined with bookshelves, and the tables and chairs are stacked with old tomes. I don't see many tables or chairs here. Okay. A few titles jump out at you. Lucid Dreaming, an exploration of the inner self. Dream Logic, and Nocturnal Visitations. That's disturbing, but okay. Overall, the place feels lived in, if disorganized. Not quite cluttered, but close. Milling at the front of the store is the shopkeeper, lost in a book of her own. She's tall for a human, probably close to 2 meters in height. Her physique is typical bookworm, not overweight, but you can't see any muscular definition either. A wraparound tattoo covers her upper arms and shoulders, but from where you're standing, you can't quite make it out. She fidgets. Gradually, her eyes rise from her book and lock onto you. Welcome. Don't believe I've seen you before. She sets down her book and sweeps a strand of black and pink hair behind her ear. Name's Crafty. Kira, nice to meet you. She shakes your hand. Her grip is surprisingly firm. So, Kira, what can I do for you? I've got spells, alchemical reagents, foci, whatever you want, really. Might have to do some digging to find it, but if it's magical, it's around here somewhere. Is this your store, or? It's mine. I inherited it from my mom. As you can see, she generously left me all her research journals. Her words are thick with sarcasm. Mom was never a big cleaner, but neither am I. My mom used to keep spirits around that helped her manage the place. They're not here anymore, but sometimes I swear my books aren't where I last placed them. Who knows? Maybe they pop by for visits. I just wish they'd clean while they're here. What's with the name? It's a cultural thing. The 5 phases represent wood, earth, water, fire, and metal. Some people believe that they're the basis of how things function and interact in this world. You can find it practiced all throughout China in disciplines ranging from farming to science, even music. The theory isn't common among younger generations, but it has its uses. My mother was strongly influenced by it. In fact, our sign out front is a visual representation of the cycle of 5 phases. It was an inspiration to her. She raises her shoulder in a half shrug. I just think it looks neat. What makes this store so special? It's old, respectable, built over a dragon line. She slightly tilts her head to the side. We also carry texts unavailable anywhere else, but I guess for me, I'm drawn to the place by the nostalgia. You don't sound thrilled. It's a job. Can't complain. Have you had any vivid dreams lately? Her face is unreadable. Her eyes lock onto yours. As a matter of fact, I have. But we all get the occasional vivid dreams. Nothing special there. Why are you reading up on them? She flicks her wrist dismissively. It's a little weird that we're having them, but these types of dreams are common in the walled city. Nothing to get all worked up about. Probably. Explain? Common as the cold. My mother devoted her life to researching the walled city and the magical phenomena within it, so I grew up with stories about the city. The recurrent creepy dreams being one of them. I've never been inside the walled city myself, but Mom went there pretty regularly and experienced the dreams. The side of her mouth dips into a shallow frown. Sure, she was interesting, but not praiseworthy. What else do you know? Very little. Just that my mother spent most of her time in there, and she shifts her weight, leans out on the counter. Well, it messed her up. Is there anything specific you want to know about? What about the people? Walled city residents tend to fall into 2 groups, those who are threats and those who are threatened. You're either hunting or hiding. Life is harsh. Most people never get out. There's a whole library here that just so happens to be the foremost location for walled city texts. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. You better believe it. She was obsessed with the walled city, put it before everything in her life. Mom ate, slept, and breathed that city. Something fueling her obsession. She shifts her gaze to a stack of books on a nearby table. Yeah, actually. Mom was convinced that something was wrong with the place, that it was cursed in some way, polluted with unnaturally bad ki. She'd visit the city under the protection of the Yellow Lotus, spend hours, sometimes days studying it. She tears her eyes away from the books and returns her gaze to you. Mother was consumed by her research. Did she ever find anything? She sure tried. Mom thought she could find a way to purify the place and to exorcise its demons. Her obsession with the walled city grew, and she devoted more and more of her life to breaking its curse. Wish I could say she fell off the radar, but really the rest of the world fell off of hers. What a way to spend your childhood. It is what it is. Here I am. It sounds to me like you don't believe in your mother's research. You can see her studying you. She exhales through her nose, and it seems as if she's considering something. I know we've just met, Kira, but you have a generous ear. I don't mind discussing my mother with you as long as we keep the details between us. Her research was stupid. Just plain stupid. She wasn't stupid herself. No, Mom was very bright. But her obsession was downright unhealthy. Anyone could see that. The walled city is a toxic place, home to dark spirits and astral influence, but Mom believed in a singular curse at the heart of the place. When you say toxic, what do you mean? My mother failed to change the walled city, and the time she spent inside there changed her. She grew sickly and became moody, irritable. She suffered from night terrors the rest of her life. Crafty languidly sweeps a small clump of dust off a nearby book. She points a finger at you. It wasn't just that. The breaking point for me was her ridiculous obsession. I refused to indulge her, and it drove a wedge between us. Neither of us were willing to relent. I guess we had that in common. Stubborn till the end. So after Mom died, I turned my back on her work and left the walled city and its people to themselves. It's a toxic site beyond rehabilitation. I do my best to ignore it. Her composure breaks for a second, and you can see Crafty shift nervously behind the counter. At least I've tried. Now that these dreams, these nightmares are leaking out of the walled city, I wonder if I can still ignore it. We always have a choice. You're right, but not everyone's choices are weighted evenly, and I don't think I can turn a blind eye to what's happening here. She loosely gestures to the bookshelves all over the shop. I have my mother's journals. I have the means to try and help. It's sure to dredge up some bad memories, but if it'll help my friends, maybe it'll be worth it. I don't know. I guess I have a lot to think about. She crosses her arms and wraps her fingers against her skin. Anyway, thanks for lending me that ear of yours. Can I ask you something about the dreams? Why do you think they're affecting people outside the walled city? It's definitely strange. Until now, I always thought the dreams were nonsense. My mother just had night terrors because of her madness. But now it's really happening. And not just to me, to others around Hyoi. Those same psychic forces that drove Mom insane are edging into our subconscious. Lately, I've been wondering if there might have been something to her ravings. Maybe. I've been skeptical for so long, it feels almost blasphemous to consider it. Maybe the walled city's curse is real. She rubs her hand down her face, obviously frustrated. I just don't know. Well, you have the means to find out. That's true, but my mother's notes are scattered all over the shop. Most of her research is scrawled in the margins of the books that you see on the shelves and piles and stacks all over. The clues we need to figure this out could be in any one of these volumes, and there are thousands of them. Can you really afford to let all this knowledge just sit here? Yeah, I know what I have to do. It's just, damn, look at them all. She tiredly looks down at the book she was reading earlier. Guess I won't be finishing this one anytime soon. Alright, I'm gonna get started now, but it'll take time. The House of Five Phases is jammed from floor to ceiling with books, and any one of them could hold valuable information. Check in once in a while. I'll share my findings with you. Keep me updated. Will do. I'd like to see your wares as well. Let's see what we got. We don't have any spell cast. Okay. That's not... Not particularly helpful for us because we're not a caster. So, but if we can find a like tech place, that would maybe be cool. Yeah. Because now, right now we should have their trust. So maybe Maximum Overdrive over here will finally talk to us. Maximum Law. Oh, excuse me. Overhead, a gigantic hollow sign shines like a searchlight, screaming its message through the dim light. It hums and flickers, sputtering like an old engine. Fierce electrical crackles sporadically burst out of the sign's emitter, stabbing your eyes and filling your ears with static. Under the baleful glare of the sign, the rusty mini barge's deck is stacked with electronics. Dilapidated stereos share space with crisply boxed servers. Ranks of discs and memory chips fill display cases padlocked under plexiglass. A short human in his late 20s stands in the middle, hands on his hips, talking loudly into the air. Bulky virtual reality goggles cover his eyes. A data jack cable runs from his temple down his stained t-shirt to a beltload of clearly home-built computer hardware. No, I'm telling you, his voice is shrill, clipped. Nobody uses KM3s. Like, nobody. They're shit. I don't care what Dang says. If Xiaowa's... Xiaowa's SRP uses KM3s, they're stupid. Hey, flesh is rolling up, gotta go. He turns to face you, goggles blank and enigmatic, blinking with tiny lights and wrapped in duct tape. He points to your PDA. I ripped that PDA, you work for Kindly. His lips work impatiently. Yo, what do you want? Who are you? Servo's whine, his two lenses on his goggles zoom in on you. Who am I? You're new here, I get it. You don't know about me yet, but you will. I'm one of the guys that keeps this neighborhood running. This is Law's Technology Palace, satellite territory of Wampoa. You step on the boat, you're in the sovereign state. I represent Wampoa here. I'm Maximum Law. He draws himself up proudly, setting his hands on his hips. The Maximum Law, yo. You got a tech problem? Boom. I solve it. You need software? Boom. Done. But don't waste my time. So you got any business in Wampoa right now? Wampoa? Wampoa? I don't... Wampa? Wampa fruits? Are we Crash Bandicoot? If not, keep moving. I found this Simpsons. Okay. Calm down, buddy, but you got... He scans Chip's casing with a handheld optical reader. Yo, that shit's banned. Lifted off some Yellow Lotus? They traffic this stuff. Delimited sim chips, full sensory experiences. You looking for a buyer? I can make it happen. How's 120 million sound? Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, I'll sample it first. These cowhots can send you for a trip. Don't worry, I can handle my Sims. You got some dangerously exposed wires over there. Yo, what are you, my mother? He regards you with skeptical disgust. Those wires are fine where they are, high and dry. They're the only problem for someone who does something stupid. I'm running a high bandwidth tech operation. Do I look like I got time to tape copper and sip tea? No, I don't. Law wraps his knuckles fiercely on a clear-topped case full of buses, cables, and cable harnesses. These are the only wires you need to think about. That's an amazingly ostentatious hollow sign you got. Yo! He looks up at the gigantic blue-white letters with deep satisfaction. It's pretty boss. That must cost you a small fortune in electricity. Whatever, I'm not paying for it. Happy Hyoi gets his juice from a pirate tap on a big Mitsuhama DC cable under the river. Mitsuhama's like, his voice winds up into a mocking whine. Oh, let's run 2 million volts from the cold fusion plant to the island under the river. Those slum monkeys can't tap an underwater cable. Idiots. You know who built the tap that pulls electricity off that cable? Wampoa. You know whose barge holds the transformer? Mine. Maximum Law thrusts his fist high in the air in silent victory. Cheap power for all and a whole lot of extra for me. Behold the lighthouse of Boom! Why are you wearing VR goggles? It's not VR, it's augmented reality. We're pioneering it. Little cameras, matrix overlay, I can support a 3-dimensional HUD and sub-windows with live multiple feeds. I got a command shell open right now. I'm networked with 5 guys. Law taps his goggles. Wave of the future. Augmented reality. I hear a lot of corps are experimenting with it, but not in such a socially invasive way. Yeah, Shioways. Oh god. Fushi. Fuki. I don't want to say. Renraku, a couple others. He waves his hand dismissively. Some of us took a look at what they're doing. Their whole approach is flawed. They won't get anywhere. You guys looked at everything multiple megacorps are doing? Yeah, corps can't think like us. They're paper tigers. Inside all that money and organization, their system's run by idiots. Coders lack perspective, no complexity of thinking. The system prevents it. Law says it with supreme confidence, a statement of perfect fact. Boom! Okay, let's see what do you got for sale, buddy? So we can upgrade our, yeah. Oh, interesting. It has a has secondary bonuses. I guess we'll probably want that because the Matrix is not terribly responsive. So yeah. How do we want to? What do we want to get? So we have erosion. We want to get that one. Our good old repeated oh, I can't afford any of those. Oh boy. All right. I kind of want to. Oh, wait, no. So what am I wearing right now? Just nothing. I want to get. So I've heard or read, I suppose, that the armor in this game is mostly just cosmetic. Like it all has the same armor value, and there aren't any bonus like stats on them like there were in Dragonfall. So I want to get an overcoat, like a long coat, because the Cyberpunk, your main character always has to have a long coat. Let's see. So we can't afford any of those, but I can get. Do I want to get the AoE one? I think I probably. I don't know. Thing is that the AoE stuff always has limited usefulness, which is not always as helpful as you would hope. I guess. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, that's fine. And let's swap our gear. I could probably sell that now too, because I mean, come on, let me sell. There you go. Because I don't need a equipment that is explicitly worse. Thanks. I still want a new suit, but I will live. Oh, there's the okay. Law's Techno Palace. Okay. Well, let's head right for our mission. See what our mission computer has in store for us, because we've already wasted most of this. Hey, hello. What's this? Oh, it's the Russian dude. It's oppressively hot down here, and the air is full of synthetic odors that grab you by the sinuses and refuse to let go. You can smell engine grease and melting plastic, ionized air, and lead solder. A quick scan of the room tells you why. The downstairs tenant has converted the space into a machine shop. Metal fabrication tools and Duraplastic extruders line the walls, and a pair of heavy industrial manipulators hang from the ceiling. A man in a black trench coat stands with his back to you, staring at a monitor mounted above a sturdy workbench. He addresses you without turning. Ah, I was wondering when I meet the new neighbor. His voice is pleasant, cultured. There's a hint of Russian accent there, but it's buried under layers of nuance. well, I mean, not me, because I'm not a good voice actor, so... Please, stay where you are. I'll be with you in just a moment. Unless you fancy an unplanned trip to Chrome Alley, don't touch anything. There are all manner of tools in here that could take your hand clean off. Thanks for the warning. Don't mention it. I have no interest in seeing anyone hurt in my shop, especially not my upstairs neighbors. Examine the robotics to try to see what's on the screen. The feed on the monitor looks like some sort of design software. You can see what appears to be a slim, spidery appendage in orthographic and perspective views. Very good. Yes, that's coming along nicely. Very nicely indeed. He turns towards you, smiling, and for the first time you can see his face. He has broadly handsome Slavic features and a chiseled jaw. His eyes are like flecks of ice. So sorry to have kept you waiting, Miss... Kira, it's no problem. Don't worry about it. You are too kind. Now, tell me, what can I do for... His voice trails off as a flash of motion catches his eye. With alarming speed, a sinister-looking drone scuttles out from under the work table. Its movements are surprisingly agile and fluid. The machine rears back menacingly, spreading its forelegs in a clear sign of aggression. The man's smile tilts, and his tone goes apologetic. Please, don't mind the drone. He can be territorial, but so long as you remain civil, he will not bite. He extends a hand. Simultaneously, the drone relaxes into a neutral position, lowering its killing legs. Raptor, my mechanical counterpart here is called Crochet. Slap him 5. Shake his hand, a pleasure. His hand is rough and abnormally warm to the touch. He shakes your hand with a solid grip. I'm very pleased to meet you, my friend. In a community such as Hyoe, it's important to be on good terms with one's neighbors. I'd like to ask you some questions if you have time. He glances at the bracer on his forearm. A technical display winks to life, then gutters out. Very well. This morning's casting should still be cooling for a few minutes yet. That's time enough to talk. Crochet is an interesting name for a drone. Yes, I suppose that it is. Didn't I... I said I was going to take academic, didn't I? Wasn't I going to take Did I not? Did I... I could have sworn. No! 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 Socialite! No! Why did I not take academic? I suppose that it is. Not many riggers would name their most prized possession after a villain from a fairy tale. A nod to my heritage, I suppose. What was the fairy tale about? A thoroughly unpleasant person. Crochet the Deathless, he was called, and for a good reason. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually how it's pronounced, but... His soul was cleverly hidden outside of his body, and he could not be killed so long as it remained intact. Oh. Ha! Crochet was a villain and a notorious kidnapper of women, but something about him always stuck with me. I suppose it was a notion of immortality through cleverness that resonated. There was something to be learned from that, I was sure, and so when it came time to name my beloved creation, his was the first name that came to mind. Is your drone deathless? In a manner of speaking, I suppose that he is. I have redundant copies of every piece of his architecture, and his core programming is stored on disk in a secret location. Should he ever suffer critical damage, I can easily bring him back. I had a plan once to automate the self-repair process. I must confess, it was really quite ingenious, but alas, my research was lost. One day I will reclaim it, and Crochet will become as deathless as the stories claim, but it will not be today. When you said this morning's casting, what did you mean? Exactly what I said. A casting that I made of a new locomotive assembly for Crochet. He gestures at this display above the work table. A biomimetic design, as you can see. This one is inspired by the walking legs of a decapod crustacean, the mangrove crab, to be specific. It make your drone more effective? That remains to be seen, but there is more to life than combat effectiveness, is there not? By fabricating new components for Crochet, I unlock options, different ways of being. Even the failures, and there have been many, have value in this context. How'd you learn to do all this? More training and experience than I care to mention. He offers you a wry smile. Drone architecture was once my profession, you see. Now it's more of a calling. One that I'm free to pursue, now that I've freed myself of the shackles of corporate servitude. You got some interesting machinery in here. He smiles. The same could be said of many in Hyoi, I'm sure. This is a smuggler's den, is it not? Our entire economy is based on people having things that they shouldn't. Is there a particular device that interests you out of curiosity? Those robotic arms? His smile flashes brilliantly in the light. Good guess. That's precisely what they are. They fell off a boat, you might say. They weren't cheap, but I acquired them and had them mounted to the walls of my shop. I simply had to have them. Is that these things? The return on investment has been dramatic. Yes, they're cruder by far than the Waldo devices that I used in my professional life, but they still do the job, and they are mine. He gazes lovingly at the industrial arms, still smiling. They have increased my fabrication capabilities nearly tenfold, and that, to me, is worth any price. Are you Russian? He nods. You have good ear, I'm impressed. Yes, I grew up in Nizhny Novgorod. I went to school there, started my career there in the industrial sector. A fairly common story, I'm sure. But there I've also traveled a great deal, and in so doing, I've absorbed a number of other languages and dialects. How many languages? Counting Russian and Cantonese? 15. He shrugs apologetically. It shames me to admit that I'm only literate in 12, however. You're either way too hard or acting ashamed to cover up. That's impressive? Perhaps, when compared to the common man, but I've known a great many polyglots who can, and do, put me to shame. He gives you another half-shrug, and Koshé mirrors the gesture. Arabic has been a particular bugbear of mine. The unfamiliar characters and lack of vowels make it damn tricky to get a handle on, but I suppose that all men have their limits. Yeah. He used to work for a corp. That is something of a sore subject. My departure was involuntary, you see. I did not part ways with my employer under the best of terms. I would tell you I worked for Grishyn Aviacorps, but you'll forgive me if I don't want to go into detail. How can you afford it? Freelance. At the risk of sounding immodest, I've commodified myself rather well. There are always corporations in need of design consultations, and you'd be surprised by how lucrative such work can be. And there is always other work that I can turn to in a pinch. Like what? He pauses, and for a second something flashes in his eye. Koshé lowers his body into a crouch. A rather personal question, wouldn't you say? Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. No, it's alright. After all, it was my throwaway comment that led you down this path. I cannot fault you for following it. Truth be told, I don't feel especially comfortable discussing my side work with relative strangers. Suffice it to say that my freelance activities often fall on the illicit end of the spectrum. I'm just gonna guess you're a Shadowrunner? He gives you a shallow nod. I dislike the term, but you say that. You could say that. What gave me away? Murder bots. Nothing in particular. I mean, I'm a shadow. Design consultants live in apartments in Victoria Harbor. You live in a rusted-out boat in Hyoi. He shrugs. You are correct, of course. The residents of shadow communities are usually either too poor to live elsewhere or engage in behaviors to risk it. I will admit to being in the latter camp. Designing robotics is my passion, but it doesn't always pay the bills. He runs a hand over Koshé's armored chassis. caressing the sculpted metal with his fingertips. My status as a foreigner has proven something of an impediment in this regard. And so, sorry as it may be to say it, the lion's share of my income flows from Koshie's aptitude for butchery. Such is life, I suppose. We do what we must to do what we love. Seems like everybody on this boat runs the shadows. Why not pool our resources and work together? He purses his lips, considering. A compelling offer. I'm doing quite well on my own, but I must admit there are certain jobs for which I am unsuited. Magic eludes me, and I'm not a decker. My strength comes from material objects in the real world. Solid things with mass and heft. Things I can build and operate. Sadly, a great many clients are only interested in teams that display mastery over the intangible. This group of yours, do you have people who can cover those bases? If so, then perhaps we can help each other out. How can you not already know that? You live right beneath our feet. Have you ever rented a coffin apartment in the big city? Do you know all of your neighbors by name? My situation here is much the same. I keep to myself, and your friends don't come down to the engine room. The only real connection we share is that we all live in this wrecked by kindly Chen's largesse. Obviously, there were things I could intuit about your friends from my time here. I'd guessed they were Shadowrunners. Their behavior fits the profile, but we haven't had any real contact with one another until now. So I'll ask you again. Yeah, we have a shaman and a decker. In that case, I will accept your offer on a provisional basis. We'll do a few runs together and see how we get on. If our association bears fruit, it will continue. If not, I will bid you my farewell and go back to working alone. How does that work? How does that sound? Very good. Excellent. When you receive a job, you know where to find me. My skills and resources are at your disposal. And with that, I'm afraid I must bid you good day. I still have work to do down here. This leg assembly won't clean itself. And die with you. Ah, great. Hey! So we can get a, rigger. Hey, this is a nice bedroom you got down here, buddy. Anyway. So we're gonna... Wow, okay. Well, that was... Oh, hey! His drone gains +1 movement speed, moving 7 tiles per 1 AP. That's, ooh. Or plus 5% accuracy. Huh. Interesting. So, his bonuses... So all of his stuff focuses around his drone? Interesting. Accuracy or movement? I think movement's a little bit more important. We don't usually have too many accuracy problems, I would say. Anyway, so, yeah, we're going to call it here, and next time, we're going to finally click on this mission computer and see what it has in store for us, so that should be exciting. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!